Leroy, I appreciate you being here. Leroy Moore, COO of the Tampa Housing Authority. Welcome to the show today.
My pleasure, Garrett.
Thanks for sitting with me, and we're just chopping it up on the Publix on Main Street and Boulevard, which I've been vocal on just how there's kind of a wall on the Main Street. I've always said it would be better if you could do an entrance there, but we're talking about the technicalities behind it and why that decision was made. And before we hopped on live, I did say, man, at least it looks like West Tampa, right? You've got the brick, you've got the lighting that has that old world feel to it. So the execution of the aesthetic is there.
Thank you.
It's just not what you would imagine a streetscape should look like on a main street. But again, as we've discussed, right, you've got the highway there. I mean, looking at the map kind of explains to you why it was designed in that way. And this is one example of, I think, a lot of different examples where 20 years ago, you may have developed something strictly to drive in and out of. Now people are wanting to walk and bike and be close. They want to live someplace close to where they work, close to where the grocery store is, close to where some of the parks are, right? And
Absolutely.
I think people look at their apartment complexes and neighborhoods in this holistic view. Whereas before it was like, what does this specific building include? People are getting out and about more, and you see it every day. You see more people walking. And so when I drive by this, I'm like, I've always wondered, why didn't they point it towards Main Street? But hey, a win is a win. And it's not like that's the only opportunity to develop here in the city of Tampa. I mean, we're getting ready to talk about, David, if you zoom out, the Tampa Housing Authority, along with the city, I think Related Urban is involved
Yes.
in this entire area. So for people just listening, this is on the west side of the river, west of Armature Works, like kind of Ricks on the River-ish area, all the way to
Yes.
275. Massive, massive opportunity for the city to develop something really special. I've seen some of the renderings and some of the plans, and a lot of it does feel like what I'm describing, right? Like this walkable area and parks and green space, access to the river walk. I even saw like an interesting clock tower, something like that.
Yes.
What's the clock tower?
Yeah, that's, it's part of our linear park.
Yeah.
So we have linear park that's actually going to connect you to what will be the West River Walk that will literally come through the Rome Yard development and down through West River behind Blake, and then connect down through Junior B Lane as well as UT and further.
David, can you pull up? You could probably pull up Rome Yard just to pull up some renderings while we're talking here. And then notable projects, and we can dig into some of all of them today, but Encore, right, by the Housing Authority,
Yes.
and then Robles Park is kind of the new one that's being redeveloped.
Yes. Yeah, and Robles Park is our latest redevelopment that we're embarking on. We're just starting the demolition now, and it is officially our last stereotypical public housing community that was built, prior to the 1950s. That vintage public housing, barrack style, isolated super block of public housing. So that's the last in Tampa that's being raised as we speak. We have the first building already funded for vertical construction starting first or second quarter next year. And it's going to be a great project. These are the Rome Yard images.
This looks beautiful.
Yep. Rome Yard is 18-acre parcel that was acquired from the city of Tampa by Related. And Related asked us to actually be their development partner. So this was not Tampa Housing Authority land, but City of Tampa land. And Related successfully won the competition to redevelop that. We are a 35% equity and co-developer partner with Related on this project.
And then West River, is that also related, or who's the developer
Yes,
there?
West River is Tampa Housing Authority land. It's 44 acres to the south of what is now Rome Yard. And West River is much further along. It's a 17-phase development that the Housing Authority selected Related, as well as Bank of America as our two developer partners. Bank of America developed one building with us, the Renaissance, and Related was our master developer, co-developer, as well as our vertical co-developer on the rest of those phases of development.
Bank of America is in the development business. I had no idea.
Yes, Bank of America has a Community Development Corporation, a CDC, one of the very few financial institutions that actually has a CDC. And
Wow.
that CDC actually does development around the country. And we first partnered with Bank of America CDC at the Encore. So it was just Tampa Housing Authority and Bank of America CDC as 50-50 developer partners. And we started West River the same way with Bank of America CDC on what's now known as Parcel T1. That's now built, fully
Yeah.
occupied, 160 unit Renaissance community. And all the other phases are partnerships with Related and Tampa Housing Authority, 50-50, once again, 50-50 co-developers. All of the mixed use as well as the affordable product. The Tampa Housing Authority is the long-term owner. We exit Related at stabilization once we convert to permanent financing. We sold one parcel to Related market rate to build Manor West River, which is the parcel immediately north of the Publix.
Yes.
But other than that, the rest of the parcels are owned by the Tampa Housing Authority after stabilization and conversion to permanent financing.
What an opportunity for the city and the community as a whole. And if you take all of the land between Rome Yard and West River, what are we talking about? 50 acres or so?
Yeah, well, no, the actual visioning for this development included everything south of Columbus and east of Rome Avenue to the river, and it included Julian B. Lane Park as well. So all total, that's 150 acres. And 10 years ago, when we first started master visioning for this area, looking at that 150-acre area, we realized 92% of it was off the tax rolls, owned by the housing authority, owned by the school district, DOT, the city, or the county. Those five public institutions own 92% of 150 acre of riverfront land.
Producing no tax income to fix our roads, to fund our police, etc.
Absolutely. So that was the genesis behind coming up with a broad master vision for this overall area, not just the 44 acres that the Tampa Housing Authority owned, but all of those parcels, in combination. How can they best be redeveloped and benefit the overall community with the mix of uses that we need in this community long term? So Rome Yard, although it was not named Rome Yard at that time, was part of that original West Riverfront visioning exercise, including Julian B. Lane Park.
Wow. That's amazing. So all built out. It'd be interesting to see the numbers, in 10 years from now when it's all stabilized, all completed, 100%, to look back and compare. This is how much tax this area was producing then. This is how much it's producing now. I bet you it's a staggering amount of tax revenue coming in for the city.
For surely, financially transformative by anybody's measurement.
And that's
Yes.
kind of the reason why you do what you do, right? It's this like economic engine of housing and development that takes public land or even purchases land too, right? The Tampa Housing Authority has the ability to purchase land
Yes.
and develop and transfer it over to the private sector. And then they start paying taxes, and then we get more money, and then you can buy more land and develop. And it's like this big snowball of economic activity surrounding housing.
Yeah, but it will surprise most people to realize that Tampa Housing Authority does pay property taxes
Oh,
because the Tampa Housing Authority owns more than just affordable housing. Typical buildings at, let's say, just the Renaissance building, which is 160 affordable units. But we also have 5,000 square feet of ground floor retail. When you move to the Boulevard buildings, two of those buildings are mixed income. Between 15 and 20% of the units in each of those buildings are market rate units. We pay property taxes on those market rate units, as well as the ground floor retail shell. So each one of those buildings, even though it looks like it may be an all affordable building by development and ownership, if it has commercial uses and if it has some mixed income units in it, we pay property taxes for that.
wow. And so the Tampa Housing Authority is set up by the state of Florida. The mayor you were describing picks the 7 people on the board.
Yes.
They are confirmed by the city council.
Yes.
And Tampa Housing Authority is a not-for-profit. So this money we're talking about that's produced by these developments has to be used for more development, right? To create
Right.
more housing, et cetera.
Yes, to further our mission of providing affordable housing in this community.
Got it. David, scroll down. I saw a picture that I have to bring back up, and then I'll stop beating the dead horse. But I really want to talk about this with you, Mr. Moore,
Publix.
because look,
Yes.
I am a quality driven person,
Yes.
especially when it comes to this city. And we've had so many conversations on the show about why things the way they are regarding every issue, regarding transportation, affordable housing, whatever it is.
Yes.
These issues are so complicated. It's so much more than, oh, that's a good design. Why didn't they do that? There's 1,000 different reasons why. But look at this picture right here that's on the Tampa Housing Authority website, right? That describes, for people just listening, a storefront entrance on the main street. Look, you can see the pedestrians, you can see the cars. This was the original vision. I mean, this says right here, a national grocery store will be on lot T5.2 within the 120-acre West Riverfront. So from the vision of what this was to what we got today, it's shifted. In my head, well, actually, that's not a storefront, is it?
Yeah, I was gonna correct you on that, but yeah, that's just the vision. And once again,
Well, it's made to look like a storefront.
well, no, it's made to look activated. It's made to look, presentable and embracing, transparent, even in some cases, right? Windows. But we certainly at this stage didn't know where the door to the grocery store would be. We know we wanted to have a grocery store there. There's nothing in my mind that would have said a grocery store door would be on that corner of Main and Rome, or Main and North Boulevard. That is a street corner. That is an intersection, right? Groceries, people come in and out with carts,
Right.
right? Kids pushing kids and, groceries. And you've got to have, the
The
design
practicality of it
to
all.
where you can get back
Sure.
to your car or get to, your home, facing homes or facing cars. And so this corner is not depicting an entry.
It sure
on the
as hell look
corner.
like it, though.
No, that's art. That's public art.
Exit that out, David. If you look at the smaller version, it kind of does. Well, look, I mean, I think it's meant to look like an old storefront, period, right? 100 years ago, there was a bunch of buildings around in every American city that kind of looked like that. But your point about practicality is the exact reason it's set up the way it is. I guess my question is, like, could you include a smaller entrance, a separate entrance where kids from UT, kids from Blake High School, people enjoying Julian Lane Park can go and grab a water? Maybe there's an issue of, hey, Publix can't have 2 entrances. It's against state law. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's a prohibition, and I agree with you.
Okay.
Yes, we can, and I believe Publix has included that. I believe they actually have a man entrance on both on Main as well as
Boulevard.
on Boulevard.
Okay.
They have a man door entry, a single
Yeah.
door entry. It's not the main entry,
Sure.
but it does allow for a pedestrian walking on that sidewalk to access that store.
Yeah. Okay.
That will certainly not be a heavy use entry because the vast majority of visitors
Sure.
to that Publix will be driving and parking in the parking lot and walking straight into the door from the parking lot.
Yeah.
Or the families that live on this site today live immediately to the north. So they're facing the front door of the grocery store as built. And there's an empty parcel to the immediate west. And then there are more parcels that are actually built and occupied to the west. Those families will walk from west toward east. And they have the choice of either going through the single man door and most likely will go into the parking lot and enter the grocery store from the parking lot.
I got to check out on the single door on the Boulevard side. From what I remember, it was like an employee or a service entrance, but I'll have to go and see what that's all about. The only reason why I bring this all up and I harp on it, and we'll move on here in a second. But it's just because I really care about the future of the community. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to live in Tampa the rest of my life. And I love real estate. I love cityscapes. And I just don't want to be in a position 40, 50, long range from now and look back and be like, damn, I wish we'd have done it the right way the first time 50 years ago. And you can see some things that were done in the last 30 years that have had to be redone. I mean, a small examples like the Channelside development, Sparkman Wharf, just some of the stuff that was developed in the early 2000s was built in this drive to environment, and we're not in that world anymore. And so I'm just saying to think about things more creatively as you move forward. And it sounds like, certainly from the renderings we just looked at, they're more ambitious and more creative from a placemaking and a street level than they were 20 years ago.
Yeah, and Garrett, I will challenge you that we're not in that environment today. We still are in the drive to environment today. Not to my, pleasure. I wish we were already there, but we are absolutely still a vehicle commute community today. We could have been much farther along here 20 years later,
Sure.
but we're not there today. And when people are making these kind of investments, they are investing, for the next 20 years, let's say. But if you look at this plan from a site plan view, you will see in order to make the pedestrian entry to this Publix on the south side, you would have to push the store to the north and put the parking along Main Street.
Like a traditional Publix.
Yeah, but I would make the argument that that's a worse, neighborhood scale than putting the building on the frontage.
Up to the sidewalk.
Right, and
I
you
agree.
hide the parking behind the building.
Yeah.
So had you moved this building to the north and made the back of house toward our market rate buildings, horrible planning, but that's what it would have resulted in, truck loading all, to the north side, parking in front to the south of the building, and you would have a sea of parking on Main Street. And that is not what you want with an urban design plan like this. You want the parking behind the building or incorporated within the building. And that's exactly what we've actually achieved as our outcome here at West River, as well as at Encore.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it would have been a worse scenario to build it in the true traditional way, which is the parking lot in the front, not the back. But if you look at the way Water Street is developed, it's all supposed to be pedestrian oriented. And even they have had challenges with parking. I mean, they're going to be building another parking garage, right? So it does show you that it sounds like both you and I advocate for. We're just not there yet. But we certainly have to recognize we'll be there one day. And putting in places and planning for the future is not such a bad thing.
Totally agree.
So let's do like a 30,000 foot of this entire redevelopment here. I think, you hear about affordable housing issues across the nation. I mean, this is not just a Tampa issue, right? I think across the country, there's affordable housing issues. And if you were to break down the housing authority's sole purpose, it's to provide more housing, right? I mean, it's the Tampa Housing Authority, right? It's to provide that supply to hopefully ease that level of demand to make housing more affordable for all. I would imagine that, zoom out, David, when you have this much space, including Robles Park, including Encore, most cities would love the opportunity to have master plan developments like that. Across the country, how unique is it in the urban core to have this size property to work with?
Believe it or not, a lot of housing authorities have this vintage public housing on very large urban footprints that 60, 70, 80 years ago was not urban footprints, right? It was suburban.
Right.
We've sort of grown into an urban environment here in West Tampa, of course, but yeah, this is 44 acres. It was a super block of public housing on those 44 acres. Now it's 17 phases. 17 blocks of development. Neighborhood scale, our typical blocks are about 150, 200 feet or so wide, walkable. Parking garages are internal to the residential buildings or immediately behind the residential buildings, so that you have the main pedestrian pathways accessible to buildings, amenity space, retail, commercial uses, right? So a very walkable, pedestrian-friendly community is what our urban design plan called for here.
And that's not how public housing was developed kind of back in the day, right? It was
No,
developed as inexpensively as possible.
correct.
And
Built.
so what do you attribute that to? I mean, today, is it the funding? It sounds like there's a lot more funds available for things like this. You've got the federal housing and all these different programs and nonprofits and these partnerships between the government and you guys and then a developer like Related. Is that where the extra money and design and will to do projects like this come from?
Yeah, I would challenge you that there's, quote, more sources. Sources have dwindled rapidly in the last 10 years for people developing affordable housing.
Yeah, and even more so in the last 24 months.
Yes, absolutely. Very important sources of funding, trust funds, and even the threat from the federal government as we speak
Right.
to eliminate, some major federal funding that is instrumental in developing virtually every, affordable unit that we've developed in the last 25 years here in Tampa, home dollars. That said, we always find a way, and we get more creative with, developing our capital stack. Our stack gets more and more complex. These deals get chopped up and sliced and diced into many, many layers. So our typical vertical deal, Renaissance at West River here, would have been 12, 13, 14 sources of funding, not two or three, but 13, 14 sources of funding
Wow.
to build that $30 million asset, as an example. And every one of those phases would be similar. I think the smallest capital stack we have engineered in the last 25 years that I can think of is maybe 7 or 8 layers, and that was a 9% tax credit deal
Wow.
with a very large federal grant. But our deals are typically 14, 15 layers. It's very complex to assemble that, and it takes time. It could take 18 months, 24 months to close financing on a typical multifamily mixed income deal like what you see here. So you end up going to more sources, creating more tools like brownfield credit. State of Florida, make available, essentially a sales tax refund if you're developing in areas that are declared a brownfield. So you declare your area brownfield if you have any contaminants that qualify you for brownfield, because then you pay all your sales taxes and you essentially get reimbursed by the state government for the sales tax that you spent for all the plumbing equipment and materials that you purchased. Or you go as far away as San Francisco Federal Home Loan Bank to get $2 million in affordable housing funds. You can go as close as the Atlanta Bank, but they'll have maybe a $750 or $1 million AHP, Affordable Housing Program grant available. So you get to, figure out who's got dollars, who's got grants, who's got favorable loans that could be used, and you just sort of, piece those together to create the right capital stack to get a project like this done.
And so some of the funding for these projects in the city of Tampa actually come from regional partnerships and grants and different programs. Wow, interesting.
Yes.
In your world, is there almost like, is that your role, since you're the COO, is to piece together those deals?
Yeah, well, we along with our private partners, source the capital for all of our deals.
And so there's sort of like a private broker of sorts that says like, hey, here's this funding program. You guys should take a look at it.
Well, just through our respective experiences. We will put things on the table. I mean, I read something today and I just pushed it to one of our partners. Look into this, see if we qualify for these
Mm.
funds. So you're constantly looking at, we're applying for dollars from Department of Commerce these days, right? Department of HHS.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
if it's a food desert, you might be able to get some dollars to help with, a grant that would allow you to attract a developer to build a grocery store. That didn't happen in this project, but those are all possibilities. So you have to look at all of these areas and what they have available and what problem they want to solve and see if you can, if you're solving for it on your project. And if so, that's a potential source for you to attract to your deal.
Just from me looking at all of these sort of things happening, even at the county level, I think they slashed their affordable housing fund. It was 10 million. What is it, David? Like they slashed it away completely, or
I think it's 1.5 million
a million?
now.
Yeah, so slash that. I mean, all of that's happening at every level of government, and it seems like there's an anti nonprofit sentiment out there. Would I be wrong to characterize this as dangerous territory for affordable housing? It seems like you guys have a lot working against you in that regard to make these deals possible.
Yeah, and I would say it's dangerous territory for community development and because we're building not just housing. We're building parks, we're building jobs, we're bringing jobs close to where people live.
You're building entire
Right.
communities.
We're putting in educational facilities. We're creating communities, not just housing.
Right.
So it's short sighted for sure. There are a lot of demands that are competing for public dollars. I get that.
Right.
But affordable housing solves a lot of problem. Roof over the head solves a lot of problem. It creates jobs. Not just the construction jobs, but the permanent jobs that are resident in the communities that we develop. We don't just build housing; we build community. The example I love to give is at Encore, Tampa. You've got a site there that is 28 acres that for 75 years was completely off the local tax rolls because it was single-use public housing, housing 433 families as public housing. As it's been redeveloped now at full build-out, that exact same 28-acre area is now 12 city blocks of development. It has created almost 5,000 construction jobs to date, but the permanent jobs that would be resident on that site to operate the hotel, operate the grocery store that's under construction, the office building that's under construction, all the apartment buildings, the utility factory, the museum, the farm, all of the uses that are now on those 12 city blocks is 1,000 permanent full-time long-term jobs on that same site that for 75 years employed 19 people. So that's the transformative nature of building back, and embracing densities and incorporating mix of uses, intentionally being inclusive in your development, inclusive of not just ethnicities, but economic situations of people as well. So you have a full strata of housing from assisted to affordable to workforce to market rate,
Yeah.
all on the same footprint.
That's probably why those housing projects of like the 50s and 60s and 70s were unsuccessful because they only included a single use. It really didn't do anything for the community besides put a roof over the head. But when you don't include opportunistic areas for enterprise and little small businesses and parks and stuff like that, you leave out so much. You leave out everything else that a community needs.
Absolutely right. You're doing more than just warehousing people,
Right.
and that's what public housing from that era was. It was it was housing people. It was not building in a economic base to create a sustainable community,
And
and
then
that's what we do
connecting
today.
all of them together, I think would be really exciting too. I mean, imagine if Encore could be connected to West River and Rome, could be connected to Robles. Like if all of that was connected through the
Poss-
streetcar, for example.
Possibility does exist.
Yeah.
Yes, streetcar alignments,
That's
light rail
where,
alignments,
yes.
BRTs, absolutely.
And that's where it really starts to get exciting,
Yes.
because then it's more than I think traditionally in this country, public housing, or, it sort of comes with this connotation.
Yes.
When you look at what you guys are up to now with the modern iteration of housing project, what's the new term sort of for just community building, really?
Yeah, just it's a community. It's a mixed use, mixed income community.
This episode is brought to you by the official remodeler of the TBD podcast, Kohler House Remodeling Company. Built on the belief that every homeowner deserves a premium experience, Kohler House is redefining high-end home remodeling with their commitment to integrity, craftsmanship, and quality communication. Their work speaks for itself, from condos in the towers of Channelside to 100-year-old homes in South Tampa, creating spaces that are both stunning and functional. What sets Kohler House Remodeling Company apart is their dedication to not only transforming homes into beautiful spaces, but to elevating the standard of residential general contracting. From concept to completion, every detail is handled with care, ensuring a process that's as smooth as the results are impressive. To learn more, check out our partner's website at kohlerhouse.net, KOHLERHAUS.net. This episode is sponsored by Chansey Architecture and Interior Design. Rooted in the heart of Ybor City for over 35 years, Walt Chansey and his team are trailblazers in their field. Beyond their work across the United States and the Bahamas, Chansey has shaped some of the most iconic residential and commercial spaces that serve as gateways to Cigar City, including Casa Marti and Casa Gomez. What sets Chansey Design apart is their ability to preserve the soul and character of historic buildings while seamlessly integrating modern design and functionality. They blend tradition with innovation, creating spaces that honor the past while meeting today's needs. Check out their work at www.chanseydesign.com. With market rate, with subsidized housing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
I mean, it's city building really at its core. And for this community in particular, the opportunities are incredible. I mean, if you zoom out even further than this, David, and you see these larger sites, like look at just Encore, for example, how large that site is right in the center of the urban core,
Yes.
with a lot more cool stuff to come. I know there's an apartment building that's almost topped out on the east side.
Mhm.
And the structure of Encore, let's talk about Encore. You were going over your background. I think you said you got to the Tampa Housing Authority in the late 90s.
1998.
And about 10 years later, or really less than 10 years later, is when Encore started. The pieces started to get into place. Let's talk about the history. Yeah. Oh, look at this. You can go back. Yeah. So look at what
the
that
old
was.
Central Park Village. Absolutely.
Old Central Park Village, which again was not mixed use. I mean, I don't really know the full history there.
No, Central Park Village was public housing. So 28 acres of single-use public housing, 483 total units. And when you look at Central Park here, just look across the street. It's Tampa Park, same
Right.
thing. So you had these two very large footprints, almost 400 units each, of pockets of poverty, and that's what it was. It was warehousing and putting all of your low-income people in one area. And when you do that, you really eliminate a lot of opportunities for upward mobility. You create a environment of stagnation. That said, these were still communities. They were communities because at that time that was all Tampa had. That was the only affordable housing in downtown Tampa.
Yeah.
For 75 years, believe it or not. And a lot of people don't realize that, but the southern third of Encore is in the CBD, Central Business
Wow.
District. But we can do better. We knew we could do better. I think we have done better, and we'll continue to push toward inclusive development and sustainable development as well, because the story of Encore is not just what we built back in terms of the number of units or even the permanent jobs that are going to be resident here, but its impact long-term on our health in this community. It's a healthy community. It's walkable, bikeable, It's built to LEED standards. It's LEED Gold on the neighborhood development scale. Every building that we built is LEED Silver or greater. And it's got some of the most sustainable, systems in practice that you're going to see anywhere else in Florida. In our chilled water system, our district stormwater retention vault, and how it all works seamlessly together just creates a much more resilient community than what we have ever had in this community.
And so fast forward to today's satellite view. Let's see where it's at today. Because the setup of it is great. I mean, when you drive down, what's the main road with the
Either
median?
Cass Street or Nebraska Avenue, Nebraska.
No, it's the where the
Oh, Ray Charles
roundabout.
Boulevard. Yes,
Ray Charles Boulevard's the name
Ray
of it.
Charles Boulevard.
You drive down that, and it's really cool. I mean, you've got some cool landscaping. There's like the median park in the middle, and now the old church is the Tampa's Black History Museum, partnered up with the History Center, which is really cool. You got Perry Harvey Park. I mean, I think, maybe one of the reasons it was a slow start, I would assume, was economic timing, right? Finished up right during the recession.
Yeah, when we broke ground on infrastructure, I believe it was maybe 2004, 2005 timeframe. First building, the Ella at Encore, was probably 2008 timeframe, right after the recession had hit. And for about 4 years, we were technically the only crane in the sky.
Wow.
And we had both the Ella under construction as well as the Ella and Trio under construction at that time.
And then now, David, can you hover the mouse? Where's my damn laser pointer? I had a laser pointer. I always lose that thing. On the east side is this new apartment tower, right? Other side, David.
Yes, on lot 12, next to Blanche on Wood. Yes.
And so the way that worked, you were describing when you first got here before we went live, was that lot is sold to the developer?
Yeah, so the lot you're referring to is lot 12, which is there on the right, where the cars are parked there. Unfortunately, the Google image hasn't been updated yet, but right now you've got a 19-story building sitting there. So still under construction. We have our topping out in about 2-3 weeks for that project. Patel's Medical Impact Group purchased that lot from us, and we have the ground floor as a grocery store. There it is. Then 2 floors of medical office, and then residential units above. So it's a mixed-use building, and it's our tallest building to date.
Very cool. And the entitlements go real tall. I mean, I've seen the render or the master plan picture on that south side. You can go pretty vertical there.
Yes. Our tallest building will probably end up being lot 10 at 34 stories.
Is that the hotel?
It's the hotel and an apartment building.
So in this development here, in the Patel development, is there any other retail or commercial space on the ground floor besides the grocery?
On lot 12, no, it's just the grocery on lot 12. But then on lot 5, which is that parcel you're pointing to now, that's also a Patel purchase.
Okay.
That's a 1-acre parcel that would be micro condos and a very large food court.
Micro condo.
Yes, the opportunity we always wanted to have, some level of ownership, individual ownership, and that might be the only opportunity for us to have condominium ownership on Encore. So the Patel Group right now is proposing 250 units of condos on that parcel with the very large food court on the ground floor.
That's really interesting. Will there be income restrictions that the Tampa Housing Authority puts in place on the purchase of those condos?
I believe it's 20% of those units must be sold to individuals below 140% area median income, so it would be mixed income.
Got it.
Now, we're also working with them on possibly introducing some affordability in lot 12 as well. So that's yet to come. There's a great willingness on their behalf to incorporate, some income restricted units, and we're trying to work there with them.
So much has been done just from what you've described in the conversation so far about redeveloping these old public housing sites that are tens of I mean, these are large pieces of property in strategic locations that
Yes.
have incredible opportunity.
Yes.
But is all of it enough? So much has been done. I mean, we've probably just in this conversation have talked about thousands of units, hundreds of millions of dollars in construction, and yet we still see income disparity between housing costs. I don't know if we're close to hitting the 10,000 number that the mayor spoke about on a policy level, a few years ago. I know we're on our way,
Hmm.
certainly with everything we talked about. But it's like, wow, is this enough? I think the obvious answer is no. But how do you look at what's ahead? Meaning, how do you look at the ownership of the land with what you're planning to do and say, how do we get more out of what we have right in front of us?
Right. Well, a big part of that is what we're actually doing, which is embracing density and realizing, the value of going vertical here and, the
Mm,
precious value of this very limited resource, which is not just land, but it's land near our largest job market,
right.
right? Where people can literally walk to work, bike to work,
Yes.
and live more independent or less dependent on that personal automobile. Because as we speak around the country, we point out it's not a matter of just building housing that we can rent at affordable rates, but it's also building an environment, a community, a city where people can live affordably, and that means getting around the community as well. So we can control how much our families spend on housing cost because we've got federal subsidies and we do layered financing and we create these incredible capital stacks so that we can rent units at an affordable rate. But if those individuals need a car because their job is 20 miles away, and maybe they have another family member that also needs a car, when you can build housing where the jobs already are, or build jobs where the housing is, you create a bigger impact
Mm,
on a family's ability to live affordably. Some of our families will spend way more in transportation costs than they do housing costs. Their housing cost is set at 30%, the subsidized units, 30% of their income. But they could spend easily 30, 40, 50% of their income on that car, on its maintenance, on gas, to get to and from the places that they need to go. Here, the biggest entertainment venue in the city of Tampa is Ybor City. The biggest job market is downtown, Channel Side, walkable to all these incredible amenities, museums and parks and recreational trails. You got to capitalize on creating the level of densities here. That's why Gasworks is so important, getting that density right over there, as well as the rest of the parcels, the city-owned parcels that are hopefully coming online to the west of Encore. That's the opportunity for the city. Is we can't necessarily build enough to satisfy the full need, but we can also build smart so that people live more affordably with not just their housing costs, but their transportation costs as
mm.
well, until we can get to that time where, we can jump on a light rail. And
Well,
that will eventually come, but, it's not here now.
and well, don't forget too, you've got Tampa's main train terminal right next to Encore,
Absolutely.
Tampa Union Station.
So underutilized.
So
Right.
underutilized. And so the idea, I mean, look at the parcels that are available on that south side and Encore. I believe that's the hotel, is the southernmost one.
Yes, the hotel is going to be facing down. No, actually, the hotel is on Harrison Street, on the north part of that lot 10.
Got it.
The residential tower is on the south part of that lot 10. The residential tower will go up to 34 floors with a rooftop amenity. And then between those two buildings is a 40,000 square foot retail
Wow.
amenity. So retail paseo.
That's amazing.
So
And
a
what
lot
could
of
we,
product on that 2 acre parcel.
that's great. It's fantastic. Hey, it's downtown. It's the urban core. It should
Yes,
be dense.
yes. And it's mixed income, thanks to the downtown CRA, which just put dollars into that residential deal to get 10% of those units as
Fantastic.
affordable workforce.
If we wanted a Google image what this could look like, what could we type in? Probably just Harrison Street Encore, right? You want to try that,
Yeah,
David? Or do you know the
yes.
name of the building?
LD&D is the developer.
LD&D. Try that. Yeah, I mean, when you think about where this is, because all these different projects, Robles Park has a different story. You know, you're further away from a job center. You don't have the connectivity to transportation. Encore really should be the most intense with density because you're so connected to the job center and transportation. Is this it?
No, that's actually the Patel building, I believe. But the
Go to
project
Google Image
name is
right there.
called
Tampa Bay
DOMO,
Times.
DOMO.
Right here. Paywall. Let's see if we can get the picture. Oh, damn it, Tampa Bay Times. Don't
There
you
we
have
go.
a
There we go. That's it. No, that was it.
was that it?
That's it.
Beautiful
So you
project.
see the hotel, which is Element
Yep.
Tampa Hotel, and then the residential tower on Cass Street with the retail tucked under the parking garage.
Tell you what, you're going to have some beautiful views from that tower. I mean, you'll be able to see Ybor and the port and downtown.
And the rooftop, especially from the rooftop, having food and beverage as a rooftop where you're just outside of downtown, you get to view all of downtown, but not just one, view of downtown. You literally take in all of Encore, all of downtown from Encore.
And it says LD&D has said it plans to buy the 2-acre parcel from the Tampa Housing Authority.
Oh, that's happened already. They've closed. In fact, they've recently secured all their financing, and they just in the last month have pulled building permits. So you will see that development start before the end of the year.
They've closed on the dirt. They own
Yes.
the dirt. Now, let me ask you a question from almost a control might be the wrong word, but setting a quality standard. We kind of talked about that earlier, where it's like, hey, we're not just going to sell you guys the dirt and you do whatever you want. Is there a certain contract you have with the developer that says, hey, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this?
Yes, yes. Our purchase and sale agreements always include a requirement for our approval on their plan before they go to city for plan review. So we as staff to approve it. We look at the orientation of the buildings, where trash collection is going to be, if indeed they're meeting, the requirements that they had proposed to us on the project that they're developing. We entitled the overall site. So we entitled it for hospitality, residential, commercial, retail, office, etc. And when we're selling them the lot, we're also granting them, entitlements for residential units, entitlements for hotels, and other uses. So they have to incorporate that in their development plans. Once they close, there's a in this project, there was a 24-month clawback provision. And we include typically a 12-month clawback provision in all of our purchase and sale agreements. This was a 24-month clawback provision that essentially requires them to pull a building permit and start development within 24 months of purchasing the land from us, or the housing authority has the option at its own discretion to acquire that land back at the cost that we sold it for.
So they got a little fire under them.
Yeah, so we sell to developers that's got plans to build. We do that so that we eliminate speculative developers, people that would purchase the land, sit on it for 5 years until the land value continue to appreciate in value and do something different. We have to control what's coming to the site. So we approve the plan. It has to conform to our urban design plan for the overall site, which dictates the presentation of the site, the activation of the main roads, incorporation of retail to activate the street level, shielding the parking from, the pedestrian areas and so forth.
Yes.
We control much of that in our approval process with them, but it's their design, They own it, they build it, they manage it long term.
And that philosophy is included in every project you guys do. But I'm sure, just like we talked about with Main Street, right? Sites are specific to where things need to orient.
Absolutely.
But in general, there's a sort of quality standard to these things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We work with that buyer, in this case, a hotel and a market rate residential developer. They're experts at doing this. They've got a lot at risk, and there's a lot that their capital would require. But we come together and actually reach that point of acceptance
Yeah.
of a plan that they have truly tooled to meet the requirements that we set forth in our urban design plan.
It's fantastic. And what a beautiful project this will be when it's complete. And does the housing authority reach out to developers sort of around the country, or do they reach out to you? Do you advertise the land? How does the deal come together?
Yeah, we actually had a broker for all of Encore. For all of our other projects, we haven't had a broker, but we've just been fielding those offers separately.
Yeah.
We haven't done any direct marketing per se. We get the entitlement right, or as much entitlement as we can, and make sure that it's flexible enough to be moved within the site. In the case of Encore, we're literally using every square foot of entitlement that we got like 15 years ago, approved, right? And at that time, we thought we had more than we would ever need.
Right.
But we're literally using every ounce of entitlement that we acquired. We've been able to flex it between residential and hotel, or hotel and office, to get those trade-offs correct. But we're literally using every drop of the entitlement.
There's not a better place to go big.
Yes.
I mean, than Encore, for sure.
Yes.
These are all huge projects, and you brought up something about how especially on something like this, you've got to work with an experienced developer. You certainly don't want a land speculator or someone who doesn't necessarily have the capital necessary, the ability to get a loan. I mean, you're talking about probably on this particular deal, what, $150 million or more loan.
For sure.
But back to the conversation where we're talking about meeting the housing needs, it's not just the big projects, it's everything in between. So does the Tampa Housing Authority partner with developers that are building like a 10-unit townhome or smaller deals?
Yeah, not necessarily that small. Just visited a site today that we're, entering into a partnership for 120 unit sites. It's a site that we don't own. They found a site, they put it under contract. They need a partner like the Housing Authority to help close gaps, and we have the ability to close development gaps with subsidy that we have in the form of Section 8. But we also have the ability to plug financial gaps because we have other business enterprises that we have gotten into in the last 25 years that generate revenue back to the Tampa Housing Authority so that we can actually do these kinds of investments. As an example, we own a statewide nonprofit called North Tampa Housing Development Corp. That literally does business throughout the state of Florida. Does major contracts with the federal government to manage and subsidize landlords throughout the state. 43,000 units throughout the state of Florida are paid every month by the Tampa Housing Authority's wholly owned subsidiary. And we generate an administrative fee off of doing that. And it's a very lucrative business venture for us. We manage this statewide portfolio in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Oh, wow.
We have a number of warehouses as well as office suites and buildings that we lease that generate revenue back to the Housing Authority. And we use those independent streams of revenue to plug development gaps. In this particular case, it's a project that will deliver another 120 units. About half of those units would be going to special needs populations. With smaller landlords that have maybe a fourplex or 10-unit building that, is market rate or conventional housing today, we have the ability, if they're willing to serve special needs populations, which is veterans, active duty, children, youth aging out of foster care, seniors, disabled populations, those special needs populations, we have the ability to put project-based assistance on their development. So if they have a 10-unit property and they want 2 of those units subsidized so that they can assist veterans, we can put a project-based Section 8 unit in their hands so that they can actually attract a veteran for those 2 vacant units.
Literally on that small of a scale?
On that smaller scale.
Wow,
one
that's
unit.
great.
On a one unit. We have
Wow.
we have a lot of landlords that are on our program that only have 1 unit
Wow.
in their portfolio. So I think we've got a little over 2,000 landlords, active landlords, that are participating with us right now in this community.
Wow. Yeah, I actually owned an 11-unit portfolio. I work with the Sarasota Housing Authority.
Yes.
And we had a couple veterans, and we had, I think it was 8 or 10 of them were on Section 8. A few of them varied. I think it was 2 market rate and the rest were Section 8. And it was a great program for me as the landlord, because most of your rent was taken care of direct deposit by the housing authority. You had that confidence as a landlord, and then you could work with the tenant and be a little bit more flexible if issues would come up. Like I had this man, he was a veteran and his mom died, and he called me crying about rent. He was literally crying, I can't make rent this month. Because the housing authority had covered a certain level for me, no problem, sir. Pay me when you can get the money. No problem at all. And that gap is so important because, man, there's a lot of mom and pop landlords that work on a monthly basis, and without a little extra help, they might have had to tell that guy no.
You're right.
And so for you guys to partner on a small scale with 1 or 2 units, that's fantastic, because you're helping people on one side, but the landlords need, I mean, I bet you if you broke out all the landlords in America, I wonder if most of them would be mom and pop, people that own 4 units, 10 units, 20 units, something like that. I wonder how those numbers would break out. But my point is, helping the small landlords helps the whole community big time.
Absolutely. Those are small businesses, and the majority of our units that are on the Section 8 program are the smaller landlords. It's not the large institutional owners that own 200 units. But yeah, that's called the project-based Section 8 program, different from the tenant-based Section 8
Right.
program, where the resident themselves shows up with a Section 8 voucher
Yeah.
to rent. And our Section 8 program has, over the years, has really been great at staying current as the values, as rents have risen, right? So we have the ability to to set the rent based on individual zip codes now, not just the MSA, Metropolitan Statistical Area. And that's been a huge plus for our families being able to lease up in choice communities that have great access to good quality schools, good quality amenities, in some of the most choice communities in Tampa. They're not relegated just to the more impoverished neighborhoods anymore. But that payment standard fluctuates depending on the zip code that you are in, and is quite competitive. I mean, if you look at the 33602 area code, I was looking at with a prospect that's now becoming a landlord of ours just the other day, when they saw that we're able to pay them what they're getting on the market rate. They were really interested in embracing the Section 8 program now, because the belief has always been, they'll be losing money because Section 8 does not pay as much as private rent. And that's not the case anymore. We actually are pegged with market.
I was so lucky I had great people, and unfortunately it comes with a negative connotation. And I do think that that's going away. But these tenants of mine were all fantastic people. They just didn't have a whole lot of means, for whatever reason across their lives. But God, they were honorable and no drugs, no drinking, good people. They just needed a little help. That's all.
Right.
And that was early on in my career. It was actually the first tenant investment I had ever made. All my real estate investing before that was like flipping houses and stuff. And I bought these two little units outside of downtown Sarasota for $59,000 a piece. This was close to 10 years ago. But that was my first experience. They were Section 8, and I bought more and more and more units in this little community and ended up owning 11. But it was a great experience, going to the Sarasota Housing Authority office and talking with them. And I remember getting that brochure, that landlord brochure that had, what I had to do as a landlord and provide this and provide that. And there was a standard set in there.
Yes.
It was just really cool to go through that. I was in my 20s, and talking to you today at this higher level, because we're talking about that, but on a much larger scale, it just makes me realize every piece of it is important. That
Yes.
one unit you talked about where you help one or two veterans, right? All the way up to West River, where you're delivering how many hundreds of units there of affordable housing?
Yeah, 1,900 that built out at West River.
Close to 2,000 units of affordable housing in that one development alone.
Right, and that's replacing 670 units that we tore down.
And what did you mention? There's a law that says when you redevelop these areas, you have to provide at least the number you're tearing down.
Yes, HUD would require us to replace the units that were subsidized on that site. So, in the case of Encore Tampa, we had 483 units that we started out with. We had 433 when we started the relocation. All 483 have to be replaced back on that site. But in the case of most of our, both West River as well as Encore and Robles Park Village, we're 2-3 times as many affordable units coming back. So we replace all the public housing units one for one, and then we double or triple the number of affordable units, the exact same income qualified person with other affordable units. And then we also mix in market rate units.
And mixing in the market, what's the sort of philosophy on mixing in the market rate? Because again, right, we talked about this, but traditionally these housing projects, I mean, that's where they put all the low income people in one area, kind of really no amenities or grocery. They didn't include any ground floor retail in those old developments, and it was all low income. Why is there an emphasis now on this mix of income in these communities?
Yeah, I mean, diversity, inclusiveness just works in a lot of areas, especially in real estate. You want to be able to, create a balanced portfolio.
Yeah.
There's one product doesn't sell as well, the next product comes in market. So it's pretty much the same kind of concept.
Yeah.
In the case of our mixed income communities, we're typically doing a third affordable subsidized, a third that is workforce affordable, and a third that's market rate units on each individual site. And then the other diversity that you want to mix in is product as well. So bringing jobs back to that community so that the people who live there have the opportunity to apply for and get and hold jobs that are walking distance from where they live. It gives more of a sense of ownership, pride, commitment into that community. It builds better community, but it also greatly impacts their ability to live affordably if they're not having to get in a car and travel for their job.
100%. And I'm so glad transportation is in the conversation of affordability now more than ever.
Has to be.
It has to be. Let's go over to Robles Park too. I'd love to talk about this development. This is the next new one.
Yep. So just 2 miles north of Encore.
Straight up the street, David. Just go straight north.
Oh, right off of I-275. That's Robles Park Village, 35-acre public housing community built in 1954.
Wow. And again, built in this sort of barrack style way, as many of these developments were of that era. And so you've got 35 acres. You're connected to a gorgeous park, Robles Park, which has the lake. I mean, it's kind of a hidden gem back there by the interstate, but it really is pretty. You're central in the city. You're not too far from the urban core. I think one day you run some sort of a rail, streetcar, whatever, straight up Florida Avenue and connect to Robles Park. But let's talk about this development.
Yes.
So, first of all, how, in the timeline of these traditional housing developments, where does the transition occur into a new iteration of, tearing the whole thing down and rebuilding something even bigger and better? Is it a time scale? Has the federal government came and said, hey, this needs to be redone? Whose decision is that?
Yeah,
How
it's
does
a
that
local
work?
decision. It's a local decision, to, and it also depends on what else is happening in the area. What dictates what gets redeveloped when is more of a local decision. You've got to have some other momentum in the broader community to justify, redeveloping that particular asset. Robles Park Village is the last of those big 8 public housing that was built specifically for segregated populations. Our first 8 communities was built for segregated populations. This was built for low-income white citizens of Tampa in 1954. These 35 acres, you may have also heard of Zion Cemetery, which is another issue that we can get into. It's a tiny portion of this 35-acre area. 1 acre of that 35 acres is one of the 2.5 acres that is Zion Cemetery.
Mm.
Okay, but 34 of these 35 acres are not cemetery. They're just the development that we're now tearing down to rebuild. We'll be rebuilding this community in 7 phases. We will, at the end of the day, have 1,800 units, replacing this 400 units that we'll be tearing down. And of those 1,800 units, 1,200 of them will be affordable to persons below 60% of area median income.
Mm.
So the 400 units today is all public housing for people that are below 80% of AMI. Those 400 gets built back, and then another 800 below 60% of deeper subsidy gets built back.
Wow.
So a 3-fold increase of low-income units on this footprint, along with market rate units. In addition to that, we have an incredible community hub. So in addition to the 1,800 units, we'll also have a 40,000 square foot community hub that will be, complete with the health clinic, daycare, social services providers, things that the broader community can come to and actually get services and help and assistance. That's going to be in the very first building, a building that's already funded. We'll have townhomes for sale, and we'll have trails and parks, and an incredible historic trail that actually leads you to Zion Cemetery.
Awesome.
And then adjacent to it would be the preserved, restored, never again, to be forgotten or erased Zion Memorial Cemetery Park, this 2.5 acre preserved cemetery.
And that's H, which is on that top left corner, that
Correct.
west side. So will you be able to see it? Where are we looking at? From Florida Avenue?
Yes, you will be able to see it. It's a frontage along Florida Avenue. So
See, that's important.
Yes.
It's important that people driving by, oh, what's that? That's important that people see it. And what will be included in that memorial? That's it right there on the left? Or no?
Well, the top, just this corner here. So
Just
that
that part,
is
that
Zion.
whole part.
So this is an apartment building.
Got it. Wow. So really,
Now, the building that you see there in the top left corner is the Zion Genealogy Research Center that will be built. So that's not technically sitting on top of the cemetery, but it's on a parcel that's immediately adjacent to the cemetery. And then the cemetery is the L-shaped parcel that goes around that building.
So the genealogy center, that's interesting. Like you go in and maybe see if you're related to some of the people that are buried there.
Yes, but it's not just for Zion, but it's you can research your lineage wherever you come from.
Interesting.
It's just a facility in partnership with USF that we will house, but it'll also be an event space and the opportunity for us to actually be able to host dialogues in the community and do some community gatherings, on that site to continue to tell the story and keep the history alive.
And what's in the center here? We finally got the laser pointer, ladies and gentlemen. What's in the center here? This looks like,
Yeah. So that's the park. Well, that's some of that is your retention pond, but it is the walk path, the historic walk that would actually lead you to Zion Cemetery.
and let me ask you a question too, because you were mentioning the people that live there now or did live there, and then the people that are going to live there. Will some of those be the same people?
Yes, yes. All of the families that we moved off site have the ability to come back to this site. They get first right of refusal to come back to this site, as has been the case with all of our redevelopments. It's their choice to come back to this site if they choose to do so. In reality, about 15% or less of our population return to the site that they were relocated off after they've been gone 3 to 5 years. Only about 15% will theoretically choose to come back. The read that I'm getting, however, in all of our exit interviews with these families is that we might see a larger percentage. But I'd be surprised if it's more than 20% choosing to return. It's just the nature of the way the choices that they make when they relocate. And we, put all of our families through an extensive training program, lots of resources, lots of classes before they leave the site, and understanding how to utilize if they choose the Section 8 program, or letting them also know what other properties are available to them that the Tampa Housing Authority owns. We own 38 properties in this community. So a lot of those properties they've never seen. We put them on buses and drive them to, all parts of this community and let them, gather information on school choice and, where the local drugstores are and, transportation connections are if they need, public transportation, so that they're choosing with greater intentionality and greater purpose. A lot of our families choose to move into neighborhoods where they already have relatives,
Right.
reconnect with family members, or get close to their church, or get close to their school, or whatever their personal needs are. They make those choices themselves, and we see that in 3 to 5 years, having made that purposeful choice of where they want to move to, that they've put down roots and made connections in those communities strong enough such that they can come back and visit Encore, West River as they do, and appreciate it and love it, and visit with friends and family that's moved back. But for them, they choose to stay where they moved to, and we think that that's a good thing, because we're not just moving people out just to move people back,
Right.
but we're pulling more people from our wait list. We're serving a lot more people by I think having that to be the outcome.
And what do you attribute the increased percentage you believe will return to Robles Park? Why do you think more people will come back?
Yeah, it's it's the choices that they're declaring today. Now, it could just be because it's fresh. We re-update survey every year, and you might see that number kind of dropping
Sure.
as they get more connected where they move to.
Right.
But on exit, we had over 20% of the folks said that they want to consider returning.
Wow.
Now, even though only 20% say they want to return, 100% of the folks always get notified. When we finish that first building, before we finish the first building, we'll put out invitations for them to come and visit, come and tour, and to utilize their right to return if they choose to. And they may choose not to return to that building, but the second building, the third building, the fifth building, they'll still get notified until the very last building is brought online. they still have that choice of coming back to that community.
What's the timeline on this build out?
Yeah, this will be a 7 to 8 year build out. So starting now. So
Starting now.
yes.
Wow. Look at all the trees too. A lot of green space. It almost looks half of it almost is green space. And then is there room to grow too? Like I've noticed on this side, this empty lot, is there plans for a future tower of some sort?
No, that's just open green space. That's land that we don't own there. That's the
I
big,
think I
what I
actually saw
refer
that
to as
for,
the big
I
scary
think I
house.
saw that for sale or something like on the market. I don't know, on LoopNet or whatever. Someone was selling it. They had a pretty crazy high number on it, but if you're interested.
I think I've seen it. Yes.
Well, that's awesome. You know, it's awesome that you give those people the option to come back. I think I mean, David, are you mic'd up? Probably not, but we've put out the news, right? We'll put up a write-up like, you know, demolition is beginning at Robles Park and here's what's to come and here's the renderings. I didn't know that everyone that lives there has the first right of refusal to come back as a tenant if they want to.
Yes.
I mean, that's an important piece of information because a lot of the people in the comments, you know, you see a building getting demolished and it's low income. A lot of people, oh, you're pushing people out. All of those people have the opportunity to come back.
Every one of them. You will hear, people saying, "Oh, these units are, they're building market rate, they're building grocery stores." Yeah, we're doing all of that. But every one of our family members, they either have a Section 8 voucher in their hand, and they left with, they can come back with that Section 8 voucher and rent a market rate unit. If they want to keep their voucher, they can surrender their voucher and come back and go into one of our public housing, which is now called RAD, Rental Assistance Demonstration Unit. Exact same formula, 30% of their income toward rent. Every one of those units are being replaced, and then twice as many more units are being built that they can actually rent, either unsubsidized or with a voucher in their hand. So there is no scenario where a person who wants to come back, who has been relocated by us and maintain lease compliance. Now, if they've gotten evicted after we've relocated them,
Sure,
that's different. They will lose that right to return to this new community. But if they've maintained lease compliance, they have an absolute right to come back if they choose to come back.
if they choose to.
There will be plenty of units and choices over a 7-year period of time for them to exercise that right to return.
So that,
And we pay for their return back to the site. We pay for their moving costs, their security deposit, their utility connection charges. All of that is paid for by the Tampa Housing Authority when they come back, just like it was paid when they left.
wow.
Yes.
So no one's being displaced unless they make a mistake,
Unless they,
willfully or not.
yes, get evicted.
Wow, that's amazing. As far as the housing supply, we talked a little bit about that in addressing this affordable housing, and just it's really more than affordable housing. It's just kind of a housing crisis in general. It's just not enough housing for people.
Right.
Let's play this scenario out. And you had a great response, by the way, on the Publix thing, like allowing me to see sort of this greater picture about the true practicality behind those decisions. When you hear about, well, there's not enough housing, well, here's a 35-acre site in a great location in the city. What if you just built, instead of 44,000 units, 10,000 units here? Why not go big, big, big on it? Right? I'm asking you,
I think we've hit the scale that's appropriate for the neighborhood, that pushes beyond what's already in the neighborhood.
Right.
So you can't overwhelm, the immediate neighborhood.
Right.
This is Tampa Heights. There's a scale to Tampa Heights already. This was a very collaborative planning process, as with all of our redevelopments. We engage with the community that lives there and then with the broader surrounding community, as well as the civic and business community, through just a myriad of meetings on site, virtual surveys, and otherwise to gather buy-in and support. So we think we've, these are 7- and 8-story buildings. where you don't really have any 7 or 8-story buildings today in this part of
So it's
Tampa
maxed
Heights.
out, so to speak, for
We
the
think
context of this
we've
neighborhood.
hit the good balance
Hence the
of
reason.
density, and the way we will design. What you're seeing now is just massing. The buildings are not going to be these chunky boxes like you see there. They will step. They will, fit within the surrounding neighborhoods. They will respect, old growth trees, right? By leaving as many of those standing as practically possible. So there'll be a lot more architectural attenuation to these buildings than what's shown in this massing model that you see here. But to try to soften the scale,
Right.
the human scale of a person coming through this community.
Hence the reason why you said an Encore, that's where you should go vertical. That's
Yes.
where you should take the opportunity to go dense, because you can get more housing there, and the neighborhood is already vertical. It's downtown.
Absolutely.
Right.
It is the northern part of downtown. Absolutely.
So where appropriate, the answer is yes, absolutely. We want to have intensification of density, more housing. But in this particular area, it's not appropriate for in the context of the neighborhood.
Correct. This is 2 miles north of the
Yeah.
downtown core. So stepping, this is not really stepping down. This is stepping up in a big way. But we will have some buildings as low as 2 and 3-story with townhomes, but we will then top out at 8-story buildings on this site.
And for transportation, are you in touch with like Hart to get a bus line in there, right? To have a bus stop?
Yes,
Stuff like
absolutely.
that? Yeah.
Absolutely. So we've actually done a lot of planning with Hart, as well as the city and, the Tampa Heights Civic Association to ensure that, for instance, Central Avenue, the connectivity through this site and around this site, not just with, buses, but bicycles and walkability and trails.
And the goal is so that is the people live there have goods and services within their own community. I mean, I don't think we talked into detail about, you said there's a community center, the genealogy center. Did you mention grocery store?
Yeah, there's a grocery store in this building here along Florida Avenue. There'll be a grocery store in the ground floor of that building. There'll be other retail in the ground floor buildings along Central Avenue as well, and possibly Central Avenue.
That makes complete sense.
Lake and Central Avenue.
It's a turning back in many ways of what the city used to look like at the turn of the century, where you have everything you need in your own neighborhood. And when you have everything you need in your own neighborhood, besides having, the grocery store you can walk to and a job you can walk to, it creates a sense of community for people. If you and I are on the same street in our same neighborhood, seeing each other every day, smiling and hey man, how you doing? It's like that creates a better environment for everyone. I think that's another bonus of doing this mix of use.
Yes. Having that spontaneous interaction with neighbors is very, very important. And, building and laying out your buildings so that, people are not just driving in their garages and never
Exactly.
actually engaging, but, they're getting off the bus or they're biking and, going to the grocery store, going to the hub or going to the parks so that they can actually create those connections.
You've been at the Tampa Housing Authority since the late 90s, and I wanted to ask you about Encore. And because it's such a long project, right? There's still empty lots. We talked about some of the new towers coming to Encore. And then we also talked about the genesis of Encore was about 21 years ago, 2004. Is there anything in those 2 decades about mistakes or shifts or thought processes? Like now we're talking about walkability, connectivity, and all this stuff. How has that shifted over 2 decades?
There's a lot.
Yeah,
Garrett,
really?
there's
Wow.
a lot. When we first started planning Encore, there was a light rail station to the west of Encore. Okay.
Damn. Yeah.
Even before that, this was looked at as Olympic Village. Then it evolved into Civitas, very large mixed-use development that was pretty much 2,000 condos on this site,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
2006 recession. We've had two recessions, from this during this development phase. But in that amount of time, we've arrived at the right place at the end of the day. Before the first recession, we were probably a month or two away from validating a $28 million bond issuance, financing debt to pay for all of this incredible infrastructure you see now. There was a state Supreme Court case unrelated to this project, Strand versus Escambia County, that literally, and this was pre-2006, that paralyzed municipal bond issuances in the state, paralyzed the state from closing these TIF bonds, these CRA bonds, Strand versus Escambia County. Right after the Strand case put us on pause for acquiring debt to build all this infrastructure, the recession hit. The state Supreme Court, in appeal, overturned their unanimous decision in Strand versus Escambia County with another unanimous decision in Strand versus Escambia County, which then allowed us to move forward with issuing bond debt on a project like this. And it wasn't just us, but it was every other large bond deal that was trying to close during that period of time. Now we're in the middle of a recession. These bonds weren't marketable at that time. But we continued to move forward. Mm-hmm. We had relocated the families. We self-funded that as the Tampa Housing Authority, didn't ask HUD for the dollars for that. We self-funded the demolition of this site and, made the intentional decision that even during demolition, we were going to build back a sustainable community. So we wanted to crush and reuse all of the concrete from all those buildings we were demolishing. We kept all that debris on site, opened up a big crushing operation for a year to crush and separate out the rebar and create this aggregate that ended up being the road base for all of the roads that you see here.
Really?
Self-funded that as the Tampa Housing Authority without HUD funding. New administration came in and made available stimulus dollars. And they were looking for shovel-ready projects. And because of our investment and forethought, we were sitting on, in my opinion, the most shovel-ready major project in the U.S. It's already cleared. It's already under single ownership, public ownership. We applied for and got the largest award in the country, $38 million in Neighborhood Stabilization Round 2 funding, $28 million of which built this infrastructure.
Wow.
With grant dollars instead of public debt. And that's what gave us the momentum, really, to then be patient with what we build and who we sell to.
Right.
So that we can attract the quality users. We've always chased a grocery store on this site. We had Publix under contract for this site, for the exact same lot. They insisted on two parcels, lot 12 and lot 9, the parcel right next to lot 12. But they also had the lot in Channelside under contract at the same time. They took both deals to the real estate committee. The real estate committee went with the easy choice, which is Channelside, that was already built out. Encore had 2 buildings open at that time. Then Walmart stepped in and put the site under contract for Walmart Neighborhood Market. We started down the road with Walmart for a grocery store. They were, at the end of the day, not able to give us the urban grocery store that we wanted. They would not orient the building the way we wanted it. They still had a sea of parking on Nebraska Avenue in the building on the second parcel. And they were their truck route was coming on Ray Charles Boulevard, and they were just very resistant to changing that layout. We turned them down.
Mm,
So we
thank you.
took back their land. But again, when we, we're not encumbered by that kind of debt.
Mm-hmm.
We own it free and clear, and we're still building the affordable and mixed income units. Every year we're starting building on a new project. And then we got our two market rate projects sold, both Navarro as well as Legacy at Encore. We had plenty of activity still going on. So we were patient, and I think our patience has paid off. And at the end of the day, we got the right uses coming to the site. Every site is sold on this site, either sold or already open, except the 13th lot, which is not a lot that we started with, but a lot that we were actually able to assemble over the years. This little corner here that wraps our chiller plant and our stormwater vault. So this 0.7 acre parcel right here is now under contract to Mill Creek. Mill Creek is the same owner that's about to lease up this building that's built now.
Wow.
So they actually have this under contract. With the exception of this, every parcel here is already built on or starting construction. Again, this is lot 10, hotel, residential building, large retail. Dr. Patel's building here, that's vertical net, 19 stories, grocery store, 2 floors of medical office, and residential above, micro condos on this lot.
Wow.
Everything else is complete.
What a journey over the last 20 years. And you've been there the entire time. In your heart, like, what does this feel like for you to see this thing get to where it needed to be in 20 years?
Yeah, it's, we have a huge amount of satisfaction. This was a faith walk from day one for many of us at the Tampa Housing Authority. Our partner at Bank of America, this was the vision we had for it. And it's better built than what we visioned. It really is. So it's been worth the wait. And at the end of the day, Tampa's got what I still call the coolest, most diverse, most inclusive community here in Encore.
Totally agree. It's really cool and so much more to come. And then Perry Harvey Park is really beautiful and well done as well. I'm so glad you told me the story about that neighborhood Walmart not fitting that design criteria for an urban environment and you turn them down.
Yes.
I'm so glad we talked about that Publix and interacting with the streetscape. You guys are on it, man. I've, without talking to you, who knows? I would have never realized that there is an intention behind this stuff. And the fact that you turned down Walmart, which given your story was probably pretty enticing. I mean, you'd want to get a grocer in there. Publix, you have Publix, they pick your site. They say, no, we're going to go with a different site. Probably a little bit enticing to take them, but no, you held a higher standard for the community. And now you're getting a beautiful iteration of a ground floor grocer in an apartment building.
Right.
You waited out for quality.
With an owner who really understands and embraces what Encore stands for, who recognizes, the incredible rich mix of needs that's at this site. Not just bringing in a Trader Joe's or Publix or Whole Foods, but literally taking it upon themselves to create a new brand and introduce a new brand into Tampa that will satisfy a mixed population, people who are looking for the higher end organics, as well as people who are looking for more cost competitive, generic brands, but at the same time having fresh food section, hot prepared, section in the grocery store. It's the look, the feel of a Publix, but it serves a much more diverse community.
Wow. And is that public yet? I mean, in terms of like the branding and the name and everything they want to do?
Yes, it's going to be called Totum Market.
Can you look this up, David?
Totum Market, and again, it's new to Tampa. It's through a distributorship that exists in the Midwest, and I can't tell you who the distributorship is, but it's a unique offering to Tampa. I think one that only someone like Dr. Patel could commit to and bring
Yeah.
into this market. And that's what I mean by, it was patient. We had to say no, and we were said no to. But at the end of the day, we get exactly what our community needs.
Yes.
It's better than what our vision was.
Yes, 100%. And when this is fully built out, it will really look and feel like an urban neighborhood with everything you need. And by the way, Mighty Fine is fantastic too.
Yeah,
The
I love
burger.
that place.
Yeah, isn't that great? Late start.
Best fried
Mighty Fine.
pickles you'll find anywhere.
Really?
Love
The
it,
fried
love it.
pickles are good?
Yes.
I haven't tried them
Yes,
yet.
yes.
I do the cappuccino and the breakfast tacos, and I have not tried the burger, but I hear it's amazing.
Well, I'm still waiting for Taylor to get some vegan options on that menu.
Some vegan options.
He's going to
on the
laugh
menu?
when he hears that.
Well, listen, thank you so much for sitting with me today and detailing all this development in your 30-year career in this community. Wow, so much to come and so much has already been done. You plan on going anywhere? You're a younger guy.
Tampa is
Stick this thing out, man.
Tampa
We
is
need
home
you.
by choice.
Yeah. And you said you're
Love this
originally from
community.
Memphis.
Originally from Memphis, Tennessee.
Wow.
Yeah.
Originally from Memphis. What brought you here initially in the very beginning?
Yeah, the opportunity to work with Jerome Rines again. I started my career in Memphis, Tennessee, born and raised there. Jerome was a long-term Memphis as well. I left Memphis, went to Peoria, Illinois for about 4 years, went to Oakland, California, worked out there for a little under 4 years, got a chance to work for the receivership in Washington, D.C. Of the D.C. Housing Authority, started my own business, moved to Chicago, running my own business, moved my business to Atlanta because I had a long-term contract with the Atlanta Housing Authority. And came to Tampa, under a 6-month contract when Jerome Rines got the CEO position here. So fell in love with the community, and it's 27 years later.
27 years later, and
This is home.
you and Jerome have been working together for what, 30?
Well, the 27 years here, and we worked together for almost 5 years in Memphis.
Wow.
Yes.
You guys are an amazing duo. Well, listen, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. If people want to get in touch with you guys, because there are some amazing programs, what's the best place they can do that at?
Certainly. Reach out to me. My email, leroy.moore@thafl.com. We are actively looking to partner with developers. We can bring added value to a lot of development opportunities, and actually, in many cases, make a development deal financially feasible because of our ability to either bring subsidy or bring equity to the table to help get development deals closed. We have our own goal that our board just adopted in March of this year to produce 5,000 new units in the next 5 years. So we have our own Tampa Housing Authority goal. That's incremental increase of 5,000 new units in this market in the next 5 years. And our goal has always been over a 5-year period to produce 1,000 new units. And we've never blown that goal away. We've never produced 1,100 units in any 5-year period. So this is truly a 5-fold increase, the biggest stretch goal we could possibly imagine, and one that I truly believe we're going to hit. So we're putting a lot of plans in place. We are going through the rating process as a issuer of government purpose bonds so that we can actually issue our own debt on some acquisitions. We've got the team that's all focused on identifying those opportunities so that we can produce those 5,000 units for this community in the next 5 years.
Amazing. And then you told a short story of a developer that had a site, and in order to try to make it work better, contacted the Housing Authority, and you're going to be working that with them.
Yes.
So reach out to the Housing Authority. And then the website is tampaha.org.
Yes.
Leroy, thanks again. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
All right. See you next week. Bye, everybody.